My next two questions relate to the presentation we did today. One of the slide presentations had that this type of farming generates about approximately $20 to $22 million worth of jobs. Do you have a percentage of that $20-some million that is leaving the county on an annual basis?
Well, if you're talking about the labor costs associated with, that was the number, that was 1,516, I think, employees in 2007 working on all farms in Cuyahoga County with a payroll of $22 million.
All farms, not just the farms on the...
That is not just the dairy farms, that's correct.
And what percentage of that is offshore labor that leaves the county on an annual basis?
I don't know. That was not in the statistics provided by the Department of Labor.
Because I would think that would be a bigger part of it, how much is leaving if taxpayers being asked to pay for this. My third question then is, when we're talking about private investment, are you also breaking down what is federal and state grants and subsidies into, quote, private investment?
I'm not sure I've talked about private investment.
Well, one of your presentations had that there's a lot of dairy farmers private investment into these projects. Is there a breakdown of what percentage of the investment is grants and subsidies from federal, state, and local agencies, and what part is actual private?
Well, I'm sure the dairy farms that put these in could break that down. They pay for their own share. A good deal of it is their own money. I can tell you that I know. But I don't know to the dollar how much John and Connie put in of their own money versus money that they got from us, or a portion here, a portion there. But I'm sure that's, the goal is to be open and honest and transparent about how these projects should be funded. That's the way that Mr. Young and I work, and everybody else in this department. So I'm sure that those questions will be answered for you.
Next time.
Mr. Mills, did you have a... I know you had your hand up.
A couple things. The biogas creates... Doug, this is a question for you, if you don't mind. Biogas creates electricity, heat, and a byproduct called biomethane that apparently needs to be scrubbed, as I understand it.
Yes.
Can that be converted to compressed natural gas?
Yes. Methane is what natural gas is. It's a 99% methane. So biogas is the same as natural gas, except it has 40% CO2. So if you remove the 40% of the CO2, you have natural gas, but we call it renewable natural gas because it has those attributes. Did I answer the question?
Well, my question is, it sounds to me like there's a lot of trucking involved with this food waste and so on and so forth, and obviously a lot of fossil fuels being used on the dairy farms themselves. Is there any thought about converting some of the farming equipment and particularly the trucks that are transporting this food waste to compressed natural gas, and is it logical that we'd have a compressing station at the IDA site?
Absolutely. That's one of the options. It's driven by economics and which is the best and highest and best use of that renewable natural gas.
It just seems logical to me as well. We have built a spec here from Bosse's. I go by there nearly every day, and there's a lot of buses pull in and out of that site every day. It just seems very logical to me that they could swing around back and fill up their buses with this compressed natural gas as well. Is that...
It's very feasible.
That's something that we can incorporate into this. My question is there enough to go around, or we don't know that yet?
It's very feasible. Centros has 2/3 of their buses are already set up for running on natural gas, and this gas that we're producing would fit right into their systems. You can upgrade diesel trucks so that they run on 50% natural gas. There's a lot of applications for this, and transportation fuel is perhaps the highest and best use, but it depends on the users, the customers that come to the IDA site.
Can it be used on your farm equipment as well?
Yes, it works best in equipment that runs every day, all day, such as milk hauling trucks. That would be probably the first application. And we've already been talking to Mapleton Ag, and they're considering converting 1 or 2 trucks to start with.
Can it be compressed? Is it feasible to be compressed right on your farm?
It is. You have to scrub the CO2, and it's better to scrub the CO2 in larger volumes, which would be more cost-effective at the IDA site.
But, I guess to Tim's point about the environment, you've heard a lot about Marcellus Shale and all the gas that's in that layer of shale, and it just seems like sooner or later that production is going to come online, and then there'll be perhaps an excess of natural gas in the marketplace. Is that part of the feasibility study or the technical analysis? Is what impact that might have on the resale value of the gas?
I'm really glad you asked this question, because I just put this slide together today. Yeah, you had it. There you go. Absolutely, really important point. There's a transformation occurring in the United States energy business. There's a large supply of natural gas in the United States. Natural gas is one of the cleanest forms of energy that we can use in terms of energy, in terms of environmental negativity, I guess is a word. So the fact that we are blessed with a large supply of natural gas is a really good thing for the United States. So there's going to be a transformation from diesel fuel to natural gas. It's going to take a few years, but as you'll see in this graph, this is the cost per million BTU of heating oil and natural gas. And you can see for 12 years that they're very close together, and they should be, because the cost per BTU should be about the same, whether it comes from oil or from natural gas. But you can see in the last 3 years, there's been a real misalignment of value. So it's a mathematical certainty, which my wife, who's sitting here, loves to hear me say, that those two will come back together. They have to. But in order for that to happen, electrical generating facilities are going to have to convert to natural gas, and transportation sector has to convert to natural gas. Once that occurs, these two lines will come back together. And it's relevant to this group today because now is strategically a good time to set up an infrastructure to develop renewable natural gas, because either natural gas has to go up or oil has to come down. So I don't know what the odds of oil coming down are. So good question. Thank you.
Mr. Chapman.
Yeah, I just wondered, is there an expected timetable if this technical portion of the study was initiated now?
It really depends on how good we are at putting together the final cost analysis for the technical study, securing the money. Very good to have the commitment of the Central New York Regional Planning Board, but we're applying for other funds from USDA for additional monies for this technical study. So, Mr. Chapman, I don't think that the technical study would take more than 6 to 8 months to complete, but
I'm eager to see numbers so I can ask questions.
I've seen things that you think are going to take 6 to 8 months take longer.
I do have another question, and maybe the Pattersons could address this. Methane is highly corrosive. Have you experienced corrosive problems in your digestive system?
Yeah, we've had, I think the hydrogen sulfide maybe in the gas is more corrosive. Is that right there? Yeah. That's what's more corrosive. So we have seen some corrosive activity at the farm.
Have you had to add additional equipment or replace equipment more often because of this?
I think that probably my digester that we put in early on, I think that the ones that they're going to build today, they learned a lot from what we've done, and they're going to be a lot better than what mine is. To be honest with you, I think that the technology that Spruce Haven and O'Hara's are looking at, I don't believe will have the same kind of problems that mine does.
We also put in a biological scrubber to remove the hydrogen sulfide, which made the entrance run better. So there's a biological system.
Mr. Fearon.
Yeah, I got some questions related to the food residuals. And I'm looking at different kinds of things since we live in a kind of a seasonal thing related to food production in our own area. Some things, you're better off having things that give you a steady supply year-round. And there are two of them I had in mind. One of them that in this area is a possibility that we're going to have a cheese processing plant. I don't know whether that produces a lot of good stuff for us or not. And the other I was looking at is the wine industry, but I understand the wine industry is kind of seasonal related, and somehow you need things that match off on to fill the gaps.
True. Maybe Kurt wants to address this. Kurt authored a report that was done just in the last year for the U.S. dairy industry as a basis of understanding for the U.S. Dairy Summit, which was held in Syracuse. And he addresses a lot of these questions that are coming up. It's about that thick, and I think we can give you a website where you can have access to it. I have one copy here. But Kurt, do you want to address that? Or?
Sure. So the good thing about dairy manure is really good buffering material when it comes to co-digesting other materials. So these materials you're talking about that may be seasonally available, a lot of times they're rapidly biodegradable, and there's a population of microbes that are important to keep happy in this digester. And without getting too technically oriented, there's a first set, a second set, and a third set. And the first set is important, the second set is important, the third set actually produces the methane, if you would. If they get out of kilter, the whole thing falls apart. So some of these products that we digested by themselves, they don't work well because they rapidly digest, and it basically ends up at a pH issue and the whole thing dies. Manure is a great buffering material, if you remember from high school chemistry. That basically means it keeps the pH relatively stable, which is what the digester needs. So if you're looking at seasonal things that can be brought in, if the digesters that are manure-based, have a really good affinity for dealing with that. And, it's easier to manage than if they didn't have manure. So that help answer your question?
Yeah, but I also was wondering, like, the possibility of cheese processing, is that a good, would that be a good one? And that would be a steady one. But do they have a good byproduct that's food residual?
So the whey, generally comes from changing milk into cheese. Whey is the byproduct. That is a very good product to co-digest with manure. I mean, that's one of the products that Patterson's co-digested for such exceptionally good digester, correct?
That's right.
Right. Okay. So it's a good product.
Thank you.
I'll go Mr. Pinkney, and I got a couple in.
Doug, as far as crops grown for substrates, corn or any other crops, are they available or effective in this process?
Yes. In fact, in Europe, and Germany in particular, there is such a priority for renewable energy in Germany because of the national security issues that they use corn silage to put into their digesters, and there's about 6 times the methane potential in a corn silage than there is in manure. So when I met the founder of this company that we now use their technology, and I showed him the map and said, it's going to be a 12-inch pipeline, he said, that's not big enough. So the question isn't so much, is there enough energy? The question more is, how much do you need, and what can you pay to help have the farmers do it? Now the farmers, our job, is something I just learned in the last 2 years, sadly. Our job is to collect the sun's energy with these big, beautiful fields in Cayuga County, take that organic matter that comes from the photosynthesis in the sun, make that available to society on a year-round basis in the form of food and energy. So the way, to the degree that we can take all that organic matter and turn it into a year-round usable energy stream is a culmination of good stewardship. So